Uncensored, no holds barred talk. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is Global Reality Radio Network. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition of the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being with us here tonight for another live edition of the broadcast. It is Monday, January the 30th, 2012, now going into Tuesday, January the 31st, 2012. Thanks so much for being with us. I hope you had a fantastic weekend, and I hope you are ready for another week of discussion, news, information, topics, reading. And right now we're if you haven't tuned in a while or a new listener, we're in the middle of reading Zecharia Sitchin's The End of Days. And I think this is really a fantastic follow-up after we've read the Lost Book of Enki and all that, because really, you know, my whole intent and purpose from reading his work, it's not a, you know, like I've said a million times, it's not an endorsement of his work. It's just a, you know, let's, you know, anytime anything is contentious and somewhat controversial, I think it's, you know, it's good territory to explain because, you know, I feel like I've had an opportunity myself, and I know all of you out there have had that opportunity as well, because you've sent me lots of great emails about it. And, I've kind of felt like I've been figuring this stuff out for myself, you know, because I researched this stuff on my own and always stayed away from Sitchin stuff largely. I didn't get into that stuff reading it. I only found out about the Anunnaki stuff because I was into researching bloodlines. You know, I started finding, and then, you know, you see, you look at the antiquity stuff ties into all that. So, yeah, that's kind of how I came to that. But I think it's important to oftentimes go over stuff that you may not always necessarily agree with, so you can find out why exactly it is there are the people that believe that. You know, look at the evidence. And speaking of evidence, I've got some fantastic new stuff that I found on doing research for the new film, the Rock Wall film. Man, oh man, oh man. I really found, well, there's a lot of missing pieces. Some years ago, when I initially started researching on Rockwall, after I found out about it from reading Jim Marr's book, Rule by Secrecy. And I really liked, you know, that book back in the days when I was kind of in the Patriot Truth Movement type thing, before I found out about the CMP and the whole phony right-wing John Birch Society Jesuit-led side of things. But that book was a great, I mean, it covered so many things. You know, it wasn't just, you know, about one topic. It covered, you know, and that's in there. There's a little segment in there at the end of one of the chapters where Jim Marr says, maybe one day we'll have the answers to things like, you know, Stonehenge and blah, 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 and this, that, the other, and the mysterious ancient rock wall in Rockwall, Texas. And I went, what? What is this? How come I haven't heard about it? And, you know, because I mean, I grew up my whole life not far, from Rockwall. I mean, in fact, when growing up my whole life, Friday nights was always a ritual with on my mom's side of the family with my grandparents and aunts and uncles and stuff. Every Friday night we were either going to eat Mexican food or going to the steakhouse and there in Rockwall. And it was really small town, but it's huge now. I mean, it's grown up a lot, but that was just kind of one of those crazy weird things where I was like, oh wow, and experiences I've had there, and I can remember going out there on speedboats on Lake Ray Hubbard where the Rock Wall is. I remember going out there on speedboats with my my grandpa and uncle and stuff when I was a kid. And I can remember my grandfather telling me stories when I was like 5, 6 years old. I have this memory. I just remember everything. And he had told me those stories about, he told me one time, hey, Josh, when they were building this lake, he didn't tell me all the details, whether he knew them or not. I don't know. He's still around. He's kind of old now. I don't know if he could remember all that stuff, but he just said when they filled this thing up with water, they made them leave the tractors down there, the diggers down there. They wouldn't let them get them up. They made them bury them down. They're still down there to this day. I remember he remember just as a kid him saying they're still down there to this day. And as a kid, you process that, and I was thinking, wow, there's these giant, there's tractors. The diggers are underwater. And so when I started researching the Rock Wall, as I heard about that at Jim Marr's book, why haven't I heard of this? My God, it's in my backyard, and all the experiences and crazy stuff I've had around that area, missing time and seeing UFOs, and everybody I know lives down that area has a UFO story. Their grandparents have UFO stories, just insane. One of my buddies I grew up with had him and his back in the 70s, his grandfather, who died of cancer later after this event, and his dad, who was younger at the time, they had this big property out there, probably about 20 miles east of Rockwall. And they saw a green ball of light, like a green UFO or ball of light come out of this, they had a big ass pond in the back of their property, and they saw come out of there. And, I was just taken aback by that. And I was saying, oh my God, things just started seeming like they were, making sense. And then when I found out that they had left those diggers down there under the lake, not in fact because, just for no reason, but because when they were digging it out, because it was supposed to be a nature preserve. And all of a sudden, right after Kennedy was assassinated, it was all of a sudden, oh, let's make it into a lake. And they rushed the job. And because, it's a buried forest, man. There are areas right around. My buddy went out there recently to do some scoping. He went and had lunch with his mom. My buddy had been over. My buddy I've known since 6th, 7th grade. Man, he came over one night, and because I wanted to get him to help me, with some of the field work, going out and scoping out some of this stuff, and he just got really excited about it, being involved with it, which is great. And a lot of my friends have, a lot of people out there, and that's fantastic. A lot of people are wanting to volunteer, to go do field work, and volunteering to, if we could get a dig, going volunteering to do that. It's fantastic. I've had like 10 people offer their services, man. Got a guy that knows how to dive, said if there was any diving necessary, he'd do that. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, if we could get, and that's really all I want to do with this film, is I just want to get some interest in the subject and get it out there to people so that maybe it'll get the interest of some people who have access to funding that could fund this kind of digs. Because, dude, it depending on how you do it, it's going to cost, and it could cost anywhere from, you could probably do a moderate small dig and probably do one for, I don't know, $50,000. But, if you wanted to really, the best bet would be to buy a piece of property, find out if you could find, it's easy to locate. We know exactly, we have GPS coordinates, and we know the exact areas where the wall is. So if there was a piece of property that came available that you could match on the map and verify it was a location, well, you could buy that piece of property. There's lots of property out in Rockwall for sale right now. You could buy that piece of property and, shit. You dig up what the fuck you wanted to dig up then. Wouldn't matter. But my buddy went out there and did some scoping, and he said that I'm getting crackling coming through. I don't know where this is coming from all of a sudden. Anyway, he said that, yeah, I love that. They're probably scrambling my show now. Can you guys hear the crackling coming through on the on the stream? You guys hearing that at all? I don't know if it's just on my end, if you're hearing on the stream, but I just want to make sure. You never know if these fuckers are going to start talking about this deeper shit. They may start scrambling my show. It could just be in my headphones, but if you guys hear it coming out of the stream, just let me know in the chat room. Anyway, my buddy said that whole area that seems to be the hot spot for where these, okay, sounds good. Where these, well, the area where the tractors were left and where some of these rock dome rooms were, he said there's trees, whole trees sticking up out of the water there. So yeah, I mean, it's, you know, you go out there and look, it's, you can see it, especially the back part of it. You can tell where it was just forest, and they just, you know, filled up this forest area and dug it out and filled it up with water. And it does seem like it was a rush job. You know, usually you'd go in there and clear cut some of that stuff, or clear cut it all before you, and I understand they like to have, you know, they like to leave some brush for fish habitat and stuff, but this is beyond that. I mean, there are some areas of the lake that are impassable, and they say the deepest part of it's 40 feet, but my dad went to the grave telling me that he was out there, you know, with 70, 80 feet of line and couldn't touch bottom before. I mean, it's really deep in some places. But, you know, when I found out that information, when I found out that, you know, here's me at 5 or 6 years old, my grandfather telling me these stories about these tractors being left down there, and then I read Jim Marr's book and I find out about the rock wall, and then I research it and I find out, oh my God, you know, this is the reason why they left these down there, because they cracked some rock big thing and fell, and it just freaked them out. They were like, no, leave it down there. Come on, let's go. Cover it up. I mean, you know, and the rumors that in fact they had found, you know, ancient technology that went back to the time of Atlantis. The channeler Ashiana Dean was asked a question one time about the rock wall, and whatever this entity is that she channels said that said that the rock wall was a storehouse for technology for extraterrestrials after the fall of Atlantis. Now, some of the new information that I found out is, well, this is the biggest. Well, this is a huge one. I've actually. A lot of the questions that I had, a lot of the holes that I had on this thing have been filled in because I went back over and did some more research and went back over the information. But only the dig that was done in 1999 with the architect John Lindsay, who I've met and I've been to his house, and I hope to interview him again. Well, we're just going to call him up and interview him for the new film. But they found blue shale, which supposedly was deposited after there was ocean here in this area. You know, 50, 100,000, 50 million, 100 million years ago, or whatever it was. But yeah, this blue shale, they found blue shale 6 feet below the top of the wall. So the wall was built and put there before this blue shale was deposited. So this motherfucker is hundreds of millions of years old, and that's what they say. 500 million, 50, 100 million years old, something like that. Who knows? But what's interesting, and here's another thing I didn't know, is that, I mean, the commonly held consensus of the people that research this, who don't believe the bullshit that it's a natural formation, and this is another thing I didn't understand before, is that this was kind of cloudy, but I'll make it clearer for you. This thing apparently was built there so far back in antiquity that when the people who later inhabited the area were using it, the people who had built it had been long gone, millions of years long gone. So this thing was used over periods of time for multiple purposes by different people. So some of the artifacts and different things you would find there would represent that. But the fact that they found giant skeletons in the area, and that there was a story in the rock wall paper about you know, this guy going into one of the caves and there being, you know, the giant wasn't there, but they told this story of there being a big pot that had human bones cooked in it and finding this gigantic bed, somehow like fucking Gulliver's Travels or some shit like that, you know, like for real. Big, you know, big sandals and big tools and all this stuff. And in, you know, in some cavern there in Rockwall. But as I was saying, you know, finding out that information and finding out it was around this area, because all of us, you know, that grew up around that area, we always felt there was something, you know, something weird around there. And then, you know, L3 puts all their spots around there, all their headquarters around there and stuff. It's insane. But I mean, just like I felt I was destined to bring out the CMP information just because of the crazy things that surrounded that. I mean, it's with this information, I feel like I was supposed to bring this out as well. And that was really sealed for me, you know, having been told those stories about that from my grandfather at a very young age. And then finding out about that information. And then when I saw that, I was just like, well, that's it for me. I've got to, you know, I at that point, I made it my, and this was 5 or 6 years ago, and I made it my life's work to do that. And, well, it's 2012. And so here we go. Talk no more. It's on. And I am so uber excited about this. I can't tell you. I'm just beyond excited about doing this film. Just because so many people are excited about it. This week could really do some damage here. And I you know, you have these things you want to do in life, and you know, this is probably one of the biggest I'll ever do, but you know, here we go. Let's get at it, you know. So thanks for joining us here tonight. We have a big ass ton of news. An ass ton is an official measurement now, by the way. It's not a buttload. It's not a fuck ton. It's an ass ton. It's like right in the middle. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. That's TheGlobalReality.com. That's where this broadcast originates from. And you can find everything concerning my work up there, from the radio shows to the documentary films to the music to the YouTube clips to the documentary films such as The Secret Right Volume 2, my newest film, which is out now. And the hour number 2 is about to go back up on YouTube in the next 24 hours. So keep your eyes peeled for that. If you have not seen the hour number 2 of the 248-minute film, it will be back up on YouTube very soon. And the last hour will remain on the DVD and Blu-ray for now, which you can buy, by the way, in various packages with data disc, soundtrack disc, all kinds of different configurations up there. TheGlobalReality.com. That's www.theglobalreality.com. And that's where you find it all up there at the website. Let's see. I want to see if I have any emails here. I did have a few I wanted to read. I've been getting some really great emails lately. Really appreciate those from everybody out there. This one, I really enjoy. This one came from Robert. I'll read this one for you. I had sent Robert a message back, but I'm going to read it on air anyway because it was a great email. Hello, Josh. My name is Robert. I'm from Ireland. I just finished my final year in college and will soon become a qualified social care worker. Happy days. I just want to say that a few years back, I experienced something that made me reflect on what the fuck I'm doing with my life. One fine day on my 23rd birthday, I had the whole house to myself as my parents went on holiday, so I decided to smoke myself some weed and get in the mood for the next few weeks of chilling out, but something happened that day. I thought I was having a heart attack and was rushed to the hospital. The doctor told me that it wasn't just the joints that were bad for my health, but my whole lifestyle would have to change. He was right, as I was a bit of a wild mofo. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll, you know yourself. After this happened to me, I promised God I'd be good from now on, but something wasn't right. As I tried to find out who God was, I was led on a journey that would drive the best of us totally crazy. This journey led me to understand how the world really works and who the fuck is calling the shots. It involves religion, economics, education, health, society, the government, and big corporations, and how the whole lot are all bullshit. And in a sense, we are actually living in a matrix, as everything is designed to control or benefit from us. We are here to facilitate for the people of the world's elite so they can live the good life. Yep, I can't argue with any of that. Just as I was about to lose my mind with all this information to see the big picture, sorry about that. I had to adjust something. Just as thought I was about to lose my mind with all this information, thinking that I could not see the bigger picture, I came across your information by reading the book of Enoch, and I listened to a recording of your radio show where you read the book of Enki and the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. Man, I listened to the whole fucking show, along with the PDF files I used to read along. I just got to say, fucking wow. Your show blew my mind, and your conclusions are the same that I have come to, which brought tears to my eyes, as I realized that I wasn't losing my mind, and that there are others out there who have figured this out too. The peace it brought to me to know this saved my sanity. Well, that's our duty. That's our job. That's all of us. Now that's your job. See, that's what you don't understand. See, it was my job and I did it and it worked and it happened to you and you got it and you had this, but guess what? You just inadvertently, you just got the job too. Now you have to do your part to make someone else have that same experience you had. I had it. It came a result of other people, researchers and stuff like that, who did that for me. That's what we're supposed to do. That's how we change things. That's how we create a mass awakening. Critical mass. That's how you do it, man. You just show people that there are other people out there like them, and they're not crazy, and they're not losing their mind. And it's the whole goddamn world that's gone crazy and lost its mind, not you, not the individual, not the free thinker, not the person who wants to see the world be a place of joy and happiness, not misery and death. I am currently getting stuck into the Gods of Eden, and holy shit, feckin' awesome stuff. Answer so many questions. Thank you, Mr. Josh Reeves. You're a legend. Don't stop for any motherfucker. Best wishes, Robert. Well, thank you, Robert. That's a awesome email, man. I'm glad that I'm glad that happened to you. I'm glad that you had that experience because that's and I'm glad that I'm thankful that you got it from something I did. But that right there is why I do this. That email, that's it. When was the last time you did that? That sucks, doesn't it? Sucks to hear that, doesn't it? You can do it. I'm nothing special. I'm nobody. You need to be doing that. You need to be getting people to say that to you, too. You see? Because, again, I'm not shit. But I'm doing the work. I'm putting it in day after day, year after year. I've dedicated myself to doing this, and I'm not going to stop. And that right there, Robert's email, is the reason why, and I get emotional, tears in my eyes talking about this. That's why I won't ever stop right there. Let's see what other emails we have here. This one is from Bjorn. Bjorn says, hello, Josh. I have discovered your radio show, and I enjoy it immensely. I recognize the patterns of illusion and manipulation. It's basically the same mechanisms as a controlling entity in a husband-wife relationship. The same controlling entity would use if the soul is veiled by an emotional body-type pain and is reduced to perform animal behavior. An animal has predator/prey mechanisms. A soul utilizes a human body through repeated incarnations to experience different states of consciousness. I believe you know these principles, Josh. Yes, absolutely. I have a question to you. When you were in front of Mr. DeLay, the encounter you described on your radio show with Tom DeLay, right, when he had his little black eyes rolled over and he scanned us up and down, he's totally not human. Did you feel any particular reaction and vibe? Personally, I feel a sting in my stomach when I see her encounter a human being which cannot be trusted. Deep love and respect from Bjorn Engelhoff. Well, thank you, Bjorn. I was just kind of trying to be casual, and we were just, but no, I did feel like, have you ever been in front of a big fucking animal before? A big crazy animal or a poisonous snake or something that could kill you? You ever been in front of something that could kill you if it wanted to? Like something sizing you up, or like that's what it looked like. Did I feel any particular reaction or vibe? Yeah, it didn't. I've seen a few of these guys before, and a lot of these guys, they all kind of give me the same vibe. Phyllis Schlafly, I sat 3 feet from her one time at this thing, man, and I got the same vibe from her that I got from Delay. They're just not like you and I. Remember in They Live where, you put the glasses on and you look at the guy that's like pumping gas or the guy that's selling newspapers and, they still look like a regular human being, but the chick that's walking down Fifth Avenue with 16 poodles and gets into a fucking limo with a driver and a doorman, she's one of those. Kind of that kind of thing. They're just not like us. And I think that's why, animals have this innate thing where they can sense innately if something's like them or not, Like I saw this, I've told this story too. I saw this bird orb thing flying around one time. It was one of those orb drone things that looks like a bird. It's like an egg-shaped thing with wings that flies around. And I've seen these things several times. 5 or 6 years ago, I saw one, and it was the craziest thing I ever saw. I saw a bird, a real bird. I saw this thing and watched it flying around for like 10 or 15 minutes, and I watched a real bird fly up to this thing. And this real actual bird flew near this thing, and right when it got near it, I saw all this transpire. It saw it and just like got scared shitless and hauled ass and flew the immediate other direction as fast as it could when it got next to this thing. Because from a distance, it thought it was a real bird. When it got up close to it, it was like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. I don't know what that is. I'm out of here. And yeah, I guess I kind of felt that from Tom DeLay. It was kind of an uncomfortable. You just felt like he was, slithering by you and greasy and, that's all these guys. They're politicians, man. They're slick and greasy. I saw Ron Paul from like about 10 feet one time. And he was hauling ass to get into an elevator before I could get to him. Hey, Mr. Paul, Dr. Paul, the CMP. I was going to fucking hound his ass. I don't know. He just kind of, it seems that kind of that same way to me too. They're just slimy, greasy people, man. They're just not like us. But you know what? As we talked about the other last week with the RH positive, RH negative blood. Look, the fact of the matter is the scientific fix, the scientific numbers are in, ladies and gentlemen. There are more of us than there are of them. That's why this whole thing that's why we're here talking about this. This whole system that we discuss and all this information has to be in place because the fact of the matter is there's more of us than there are of them. And if we ever really figure out the power that we have, they're finished. And I think we are. I think we are figuring that out. And the fact that at least some of us are, I think, gives me, gives me a lot of hope for sure. Let's see what else we have here. This is from Tom. I noticed in some of your podcasts. Oh, God. Okay. Oh, man. Here it comes. That's all I'm going to say. Here it comes. Okay, look, before I even read this shit. Look, Tom, I can tell everything I need to know about you, buddy. And I don't mean any offense to you, man. I'm sure you're a good guy. And I'm not trying to come off as a dick to you or disrespectful to you or talk down to you at all right here, okay? I want to preface this with what I'm about to say because I'm not trying to do that. But I can tell, Tom, just from reading this email, that you haven't done any of your own research on this, on these questions that you have here. You've just heard me say something that challenged your belief system and what you think you know to such a degree that you wrote me this email and some kind of, it just sounds, frantic and kind of threatening. I noticed in some of your podcasts, you say the Anunnaki gave most of their DNA to the white race. No. I don't say that. The Sumerian texts say that when they created mankind as a slave race, they used tiny bits of their own DNA at first. And the tiny bits that they used, they created a species called the Darkheads. That's what they call them in the text. That's not me saying that. That's what the text translations say. And they had problems with that specific breed. So and this is all talked about in the text. So they decided to do another breed. And eventually the different races of people were split up in different areas of the world based on which one of the Anunnaki were in charge of what area of the world. This is all in the Sumerian text. We've gone over it a bunch here lately in my shows when I've been reading Zecharia Sitchin. And so the second race they created was they called them the Mongoloids. These are your Asiatic type. And after that, you had the Caucasoids, which were created from the white-skinned people from the Caucasus Mountains region there in the Middle East. And so in each successive trial and failure, they kept using more of their own genetic code in these cross-breeding programs till eventually when they got to these small amount of these white-skinned people, that was when they decided to use more of their genetic material than they had used in their previous experiments. And that was when they had success. So based on that, that's when they started putting their creations who were half human, half Anunnaki or, Earthborn or whatever it may be, into positions of power and kingship and then on to be pharaohs and all the rest of that stuff. So this is why the bloodlines have been interbreeding to this day. That's why you don't see, when was the last time you saw a Bush, a George Bush or a Clinton or whoever, or Harry Truman? When was the last time you saw one of those motherfuckers with a black baby? Huh? When was the last time you saw one of their kids or with somebody from another race? Never. They don't allow it to happen. So I know and I understand that all of this is very uncomfortable and you don't like hearing it. And it's very mind-blowing information and it challenges everything you know. But before you send me an email asking me to explain all this, which I've explained on a million times. Obviously, you've heard me talk about this before, so I don't know why you didn't just go research it after you heard me say it. But that's not my opinion. That's what the texts say. So many other non-white race cultures evolved many years before the white race. The white race was very primitive compared to ancient civilizations. Yes, the Caucasoids were. And yes, you had people on the lower end of it that were that had the RH rhesus monkey DNA that they crossed with this with their DNA and the Caucasus Mountain people DNA. And then the other ones were the ones that, like Enki was going around, pouring his semen into, that were his creations. So those were the ones that were half human, half Anunnaki. They were considered to be more divine because they didn't have the RH positive rhesus monkey gene. So yes, there were white races with very primitive cultures compared to other ones, and that's what we're talking about here. You had classes of people going, they created the classes of people. So I'm not justifying that. I'm not trying to say that I believe that. I'm not trying to say that, oh yeah, well that's the proof that, because that's what the Stormfront guys do. In my research into this, and I've been researching this for over 15 years, the people who I found, the subsection of people that I found that know the most about this Anunnaki stuff are the white supremacists. Go to Stormfront, dude. Go troll the fucking forums over there. and go search under Anunnaki. These guys all know this shit because they believe that this is where what gives them the authority for, you know, the white power, white takeover stuff. And I don't believe in any of that stuff. I love it, though. I love how I'll get accused of being an anti-white pro. I don't understand how anybody can have a problem with pro culturalism. I don't know why anybody would be seen as negative for that. I just don't. So I've been accused of being pro multiculturalism and anti-white, and so now I'm being accused, it seems, of being, of saying that whites are superior because the Anunnaki, blah blah blah, and that justifies it. No, man, this is why I'm exposing these guys. Why do you think I'm doing this? Why do you think I've made these films and I'm doing this? I'm trying to expose these guys and show where this stuff really comes from. And why it's driven from the priest class and driven from the Jesuits and these people who are holding all this ancient knowledge. It goes back to these Anunnaki guys. Why do you think they have Jones and these guys out there playing gatekeepers, making sure and trying to attempt that you never get to this information? So I'm sorry, Tom. I think you need to spend a little more time researching on your own before coming off half-cocked to me, acting like, I need to explain something you could have found out on your own by going to do research. You don't agree with something you hear me say? You don't believe something you hear me say? Go to research it on your own. Disprove it. Come to the table with contrary information. And unfortunately, nobody ever does. It sucks. But earlier in the show tonight, I was telling you guys, and I told you a little bit. I had some updated information here on the rock wall stuff. And I started doing some research on it because I was trying to attempt to find this guy who had done the Paleomagnetic survey during the rock wall dig back in 1999, and his name's Wolf Goss, and he's a academic down at University of Texas in Austin. And if we get some funds here and some financial backing for this new film soon, then we're going to be able to travel and go interview this guy. Well, he did the Paleomagnetic survey on the rock wall, and he's the guy I've told you guys about that wouldn't publish his findings until after he's dead. Well, I've located him, and I'm going to get an interview with him. But I started looking into, I'd never looked into this, what a paleomagnetic survey is. So I did a Google search, started looking at paleomagnetic survey, and went to, I went to college websites, and I went to academic sites and read academic papers and scientific papers and publishings and studies and all this stuff on paleomagnetic surveys. And I found two distinct things that paleomagnetic surveys are most always used for. I was trying to out what's their purposes, what are they used for, and there's only a couple of things they're really used for. But it's a dating technique. It's kind of a dating technique similar to carbon dating or something like that. And because of the fluctuations in Earth's magnetic field through the years, some of the rocks that are way down under the ground have a magnetic signature to them. They're like a hard drive almost. They record a magnetized signature, which allows you to be able to glean a date of the magnetic field of the Earth and where it was and how long ago it was there. So they use it for that, and it also to monitor continental drift, Earth crust displacement, continental drift. I've talked about many times. It seems that we find more and more evidence that not too long ago in our history that the Pangea thing, one big landmass, was actually a reality, not as far back as they tell us. So it's used for that, and it's also used to determine the dates and the periods of geomagnetic reversal. Now, ladies and gentlemen, do you know what geomagnetic reversal is? Yes, geomagnetic reversal is indeed the science of studying pole shifts. So, I have concluded. Now, this is bombshell. Sit down for this. Whatever Dr. Goss found and his findings that he won't allow to be published after his death of the Paleomagnetic Survey of the rock wall indicates that whatever he found has to do with either continental drift, the drifting of continental structures, or geomagnetic reversal, which is a pole shift. I don't know about you, but that's huge. That's a game changer for me. Because we need to get somebody, and I plan on trying to find somebody who can do an independent paleomagnetic survey where we will guarantee ourselves to have the results. And they're out there. I can find them very easy. I've already looked. So this has become the thing now for me. We gotta get something dug up, at least where we can get a paleomagnetic survey done on our own independently, and find out exactly which one of these two things it is. Is it, is the Earth's crust displacing at a rate they're not telling us about that could have, effects on us here on the planet in the near future? Or, does this have to do with the pole shift? What is it? I think that that really, really, really opened up a lot of questions and a lot more interesting things for me for this film. Let me read you some stuff here from some of my notes and some of my preliminary stuff. I went back and had found some of the old stuff that came from, I had talked about the space shuttle thing and the trajectory of entry and exit into space being around Rockwall, and I'd found that information again. It had been lost for years. The ancient city was built by a civilized race thousands of years ago when it was located at about 30-degree latitude, the prime latitude for entry from space. That may be coincidence, but on July 27th, 1999, the Space Shuttle Columbia streaked across North Texas shortly after 10 p.m. local time, re-entering Earth's atmosphere for landing at Cape Canaveral, Florida, also near the 30-degree parallel. Re-entry created hundreds of miles of brightly fluorescing ionized gases and a beautiful glowing tail as Columbia descended to change from a clumsy orbiting space vessel to a graceful aircraft. This event may be prophetic of the ultimate discoveries about the ancients who built the Rockwall city close to the re-entry path. This watershed or divide ends in Rockwall County 12,000 years ago at the time of the last Ice Age flood. The area was at the coastline of the modern Gulf of Mexico. Parts of Rockwall County would have been a string of islands, and the city, which must have been built and habituated thousands of years earlier, was entirely underwater. So the city was built thousands of years before that, was entirely underwater. Then there was that's just amazing. During a period of several thousand years, blue shale was deposited gradually in sedimentary layers. John Lindsay has found blue shale layers about 6 feet beneath the top of the wall. This means it was constructed much earlier. The wall was already ancient when the ice began melting and the ocean levels rose to bring the coastline that far north of its present position. So that explains why they found fresh sand dollars and stuff way down there. They were just so compacted and so far down in there, they weren't exposed to any air or anything, so they couldn't. There was fresh meat inside them when they cracked those sand dollars open. They found down there. That's unbelievable. And there were shark's teeth on the outside of this thing. Somebody built this thing millions of years ago, folks. This is a game changer. We've just got a couple days left on our fund there for the kickoff of 2012. And if you want to help us to be able to travel to get some of this stuff done, please go there and donate to our work. And we're going to have a shipping banner up for the film exclusively just for that coming up in February as well. The top of the wall and all outcropping found to date has a uniform elevation of 550 feet above mean sea level. So this thing's at 550 feet above sea level all the way around it. The ground elevation in the area is far from uniform. It's hills and valleys. And I'm going to have footage of all that, hills and valleys, all the whole area around there. The wall's an almost perfect rectangle, about 4 by 7 miles. The exact dimensions of short to long have a mathematical relation known as the golden section, about 1 to 1/6. So it's got the golden ratio in this thing, folks, which is undeniably evidence that it was built by somebody with advanced knowledge hundreds, maybe even hundreds of millions of years ago. 50 million, 100 million, 200 million, 300 million years ago, maybe 500 million years ago. Well, the Earth's only 10,000 years old, so I don't know how that's possible. That's what Jesus said. Bible says Earth's only 10,000 years old.
Suck Satan's cock.
It has the golden number in it. Yeah, it's just natural sand dike formation. Yep, it sure is. We ain't never found another one like it anywhere in the world, but we know it's natural. This relationship has been found in other ancient cities. A small rectangle in the southwest corner is formed by intersecting walls. These dimensions also have that same ratio. Yeah, that's where L3 put one of their offices at. As depth increases, meaning the further that you dig down, the stones are larger. So the stones get bigger the larger that you go down. Again, we're talking about geopolymers. Perfect masonry walls with this, mortar in between them. It's made out of multiple different types of crystals fused together. The stone itself is found nowhere else but in the wall and has not yet been identified by geologists, and is considerably denser than granite. The stone weighs 200 pounds to 200 cubic feet, and granite weighs about 175 pounds per cubic feet. Ancient writing has been found engraved on a large slab. So, yeah, man. I mean, this stuff just it's getting real interesting now, because, it's not just that it's an ancient structure, and it's not just that it was built so long back in antiquity they won't admit there were people, individuals on this earth at this time, and they sure won't talk about how advanced the technology is. But it also appears that there's a possibility that whoever built this thing built this way, way, way back then for the specific purpose of someone finding it like we are in the modern day and doing a paleomagnetic survey to this and having the ability to see a timeline on when these crust displacement events or pole shift events would happen. Because that's what it seems that Dr. Wolf-Goss found. The evidence, almost as if this thing was built as a way for us to indicate, with perfect time, judging by the layers and the shale and the sediment, when, because they're able to do that with these paleomagnetic surveys and determine, based on other data and things that they have, when these things are likely to take place. And the fact of the matter is, folks, we're due. We're due for a pole shift. Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen on December 21st, 2012. We're trying to infer that at all. I'm just saying in general. And my point is that this could very well mean that it's not just about the fact that it's an ancient city. It's not just about this. Very well could be the chance to have evidence of events that may be happening here on the planet that they're keeping us in the dark about. I never dreamed it would be something like that. I've spent 10 grand making a couple of films and 20 grand making the last one. We're going to need some cash for this one. Investors, people who want to come in as investors, people who want to come in and fund digs. I mean, if you know anybody out there that wants to get behind this, please contact me, globalrealityshow@gmail.com. We got to get to work on this, man. This is just huge. Unbelievable stuff. We have a big amount of news now. I don't know if we'll get into reading Lost Book of Enki. I'm sorry, not Lost Book of Enki. End of Days, Zachariah. We may not. I don't know. We're going to get into a bunch of news, though. And I'm going to go with the news until I get absolutely worn out from it. I've had a serious sinus migraine all day long today, and it's kind of came and gone. I've kicked it, and it's come back. But I'm going to go as hard and as strong as I can for as long as I can for you guys here tonight. And we're going to take a break, come back. All right, back here with you on the Global Reality, right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being with us here tonight. Thanks for staying up late with us again. It's going to be another late one tonight here. And we got more news and information in this segment of the broadcast for you here tonight. John Doe in the chat room pointed out that he noticed that the music was cutting out over the past few days and stuff. And he's asking me, he says, is it computer problems or solar flares? That's a good question. Could be, I guess, a little bit of both. But no, I mean, this computer's not that old. Lee Rogers helped me get this computer a couple of years ago, or it's only about a year ago or so, a year and a half ago, I guess. It was like right at the end of 2010, so a little over a year ago. It's a 3 gig dual core, 6 gigs of RAM. It's got an internal 500 gig hard drive, but there's nothing even being pulled off of that. I got everything else shut off, everything shut down in the background, down to bare minimum. And it's not using hardly any of the system processing power. I've got a little data thing here, and it's using like, 20% of the RAM, like 10, 2 or 3% of the processing power. I mean, nothing, but it's doing that. So and plus the server side's fine. So I can't help but think that they're definitely messing with the broadcast, because it only seems to do it. Did it last night when I was doing the music show, and it's just odd that it happens like that. I really don't know what's going on with it, but they hadn't messed with the broadcast in a while, and I think since I got the new server company back last year, we pay a little more for that every month now, but it's worth it because there for a while on the other server company we had, they were taking us down so often. I couldn't do shows for. There was one time I couldn't do a show for a week. It was so bad, and so I paid extra, and got the. See, it'll only be on the archive, John, if they're messing with the line itself, and it's not our. I mean, we got FiOS here, fiber optic, 20 megs up, 20 megs down, and I'll run system tests on it and stuff like that, and we got bandwidth out the ass, and plus it's only 128K stream, so with 20 megs up and 20 megs down, you're not using 128K stream is not. I mean, you're not even going to use enough to notice. You're not even going to notice that's there on your bandwidth. Pushing 128K upstream, that's all. There's nothing coming down. That's the thing about my stream. Nothing comes down from it. It only pushes up. So with 20 megs up, 20 megabytes, you're talking about 100. I have 128 kilobyte stream. A kilobyte, even compared to 1 megabyte, much less 20, which is what our upload speed is. It's minuscule. It's nothing. But when we got the new server company, we pay more for that, but it has redundancy on the servers now. If one goes down and gets under DOS attack, there's redundancy and backups where the other ones just kick in seamlessly. In fact, it happens so seamlessly sometimes that I won't even notice that the other one is kicked on or anything. It's completely seamless, which is fucking awesome, dude. I really like that. So it seems that now they're just going directly after the internet connection itself. But we won't be stopped. That's just all there is to it. My website, theglobalreality.com. And this is our fundraising week to pay the bills. We thank you so much to everybody who helped us get it in early, and we got to get the job done, get this stuff in to get all the operating costs paid for the month. And we thank you so much to everybody out there. I think we're like 200 short or something like that. I think away from our goal, but we've still got like 1,500 left on the chip-in banner. And I had set that up to feel like 1,500 for operating costs, and the other 1,500 to go towards the cost expenses for going out to location shoot for the new Rockwall film. And so that'll be there till Thursday. And also, it's also not only for that, but to help us try and build a war chest. I mean, we came into the 2012 here with like $16 in the bank. And with all the work that we have to do, that's just not going to get the job done. And we haven't been hardly selling any. We sold a lot of we had a lot of pre-orders. After the pre-orders were out, we sold about, 10 DVDs, something like that. So we haven't sold a lot of DVDs or Blu-rays. So we haven't had money coming in from that either. So that's frustrating. But thanks to everybody out there who has helped us make it and continues to help us make it. And we hope that you'll support our work if you haven't yet. If it's not too late to support us. And the current achievement banner will be going until Thursday. If we could meet the rest of that goal, it'd be fantastic. I could be able to go out in the next month or so and get a lot of this location shooting done, and I'd have a much better idea on how much more I have left to do, or what else there would be to do on the film. And obviously, there would be a lot more after that, but that would be, it would get a good chunk of it done, and we could get that done for around that amount. So, and we'll also put up. I'm gonna try to do all kinds of stuff for this. I'm gonna try to get one of those. What do you call it? Like the it's a new thing everybody's doing. What's it called? I can't remember. So there's tons of those websites now where you get people to fund your projects and stuff, like Kickstarter. I'm going to try to do that for this film as well, because I really just want to get as much interest in this as I can and make something that'll get more interest in it. And it's amazing. The more I dig into it, the more I find out how. It's this thing's taken on its own. Everything I do does that. It's just unbelievable. I'll get into researching one thing for one reason, and then come to find out there's a whole other spectrum to it that I hadn't even considered. And that kind of seems to be happening here with this rock wall thing. It seems to be more than just the fact that it's a archaeological anomaly and everything else about it and the implications of who built it and all that, but also the fact that this thing seems to, act as almost as a record keeper and as a way to understand changes on Earth that occur far into the future, so that we can track the time of them happening. Almost if somebody, and that's another thing, man. You just seem to find more and more things that indicate, time anomalies and time travel and stuff like that. We talked about that a lot here on the show recently. But anyway, if you want to see us continue, you want to help us out and keep us going, commercial free and uncensored, please donate. TheGlobalReality.com, chip and banner with a donate button. We also have the P.O. Box there, which you can use if you absolutely can't use PayPal. We prefer PayPal, but if you absolutely can't use that, we have a P.O. Box where you can send a check in or whatever else there. I saw this story last night, and it was from Live Science. That's the thing about it, a science magazine. And man, I can't tell you. I just really felt like what a vilification. I mean, this is what I've been screaming about for the past almost 5 years now. I've been on here. This is my 5th year in broadcasting. And, well, that's another thing I'm thankful for all you listeners and supporters out there. Do the numbers, man. And there aren't a lot of hosts that are around as long as we've been doing here, and people come and go and doing this. But, thankfully, thanks to our diehard supporters and donators out there, we are continuing and have gotten to this point now where I'm getting opportunities to be able to do some big stuff and uncover some big stuff. So that's why it's just so vital that you help us out whenever you can. But this is, I just, we see all this divide and conquer. Like you talked about, they tell us in the media, I mean, everybody's racist and there's all this racist stuff, blah, 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 blah. But you got to go look real hard to find racism most of the time. And, they've built up all this stuff. Oh, yeah, Americans are so divided, blah, blah, blah. Well, turns out they have done a scientific study now and found out that we're not actually as divided on what we believe as we're told that we are. I mean, they are scientifically saying now that it has been exaggerated how far the divide is for the general public on what they believe. Absolute scientific proof, folks, of divide and conquer. Scientific proof that they have been perpetrating this myth that we all don't want the same things, that we're all somehow so different, and so that's why there's so much chaos. Bullshit. See, it's not my opinion anymore that this has been going on. Absolutely, it is a cold, hard fact now that we know. See, now there's no excuse. There's no excuse now. I mean, this proves beyond any shadow of a doubt, folks, that they have been perpetrating this divide and conquer, this left-right bullshit to divide us, so we don't unite against them. In an election year, it's hard to turn on the television or read a newspaper without getting the sense that Americans are becoming ever more divided into red versus blue. But a new study finds that perception may be downright wrong. In fact, political polarization among the public has barely budged at all over the past 40 years, according to research presented here on January 27th at the annual meeting for the Society for Personality and Social Psychology. But crucially, people vastly overestimate how polarized the American public is, a tendency toward exaggeration that is especially strong in the most extreme Democrats and extreme Republicans. Strongly identified Republicans or Democrats perceive and exaggerate polarization more than weakly identified Republicans or Democrats or political independents, said study researcher John Chambers, a professor of psychology at the University of Florida. The people who see the world split into two opposing factions are also most likely to vote and become politically active. Right, because they've been brainwashed into believing that our team is the best team. And we are the best. We stand up for American, for white people, and well, not just the white people. We stand up for them coloreds too. Let me make that clear. I'm a progressive. You know, I may be concerned. I'm progressive. Got to stand up for them gayers and them coloreds. They're people too now. But yeah. See, that's who it is. People who don't have a stake, who don't fall into either side because they see both sides of the same coin that they really are starting to have more of an effect. Chambers said in a talk at the meeting that this means that while real growing polarization is illusory, the perception of polarization could drive the political process. It does drive the political process, not could. Yes. The perception of polarization does drive the political process already, not could. That's what they bank on. That's their cash cow, man. That's their fucking money card. That's the ace in the hole. That's the one they drop every time. And we sit across from the table of these motherfuckers every time there's an election, and we let them drop that bitch card on us every goddamn time, and we lose. When we know full well exactly the way they play cards when they get to this election table. The perception, that's a great way of putting it. The perception of polarization could drive the political process. No, it does. But I'm going to drop a link to this in the chat room. I've been sending this to all my friends for the last 24 hours. And I really, seriously, we should spread this around. I think that, that's one that's got to get out. People really need to see the evidence and the proof that, that we are being divided. They are attempting to divide us. They do not want us united against them. They want us to kill each other and hate each other and destroy each other with our own hate and venom that is fueled by their propaganda. And that's exactly what it is. Inspired by polling data showing that 2/3 of Americans believe the United States is becoming more politically polarized, with a gap between the political parties widening, Chambers and his colleagues looked at nationally representative data stretching from 1970 to 2004. More than 43,000 respondents over the years have participated in the large-scale American National Election Survey, though not all answered all questions. So the researchers had between 4,000 and 26,000 individuals to work with for various questions. The respondents indicated their political beliefs by answering questions on their opinions on a wide variety of issues, from government-provided health care to defense spending to women's equality. They also reported how they believe a typical Republican and Democrat would feel about these same issues. Using these two measures, we were able to look at actual and perceived differences in polarization. They found that actual polarization has remained steady since the 1970s. The historical responses also showed that people have always overestimated polarization, even decades ago. In times now remembered as cooperative and cordial, people pegged political disagreements as much more vast than they really were. Oh, yeah. Now, there's communists and socialists and all that stuff walking around everywhere. People used to get blacklisted and have their lives ruined back in the day for this stuff. So absolutely, I would say, it's the polarization has shifted gears. Back, 40, 50 years ago, the political polarization was not as fueled by the media and electronic media as it is now. So now it's a different ballgame. So the polarization has changed, but it's funny, even though they've changed their manner of attack, and yes, even though it would appear that we're more polarized, the reason that we're more polarized, or the illusion that we're more polarized is there, is because now you have mass media, you have Fox News over here, which is seen as the right, CNN or MSNBC over here is seen as the left. And so, yeah, exactly. When you've got radio talk show hosts and TV show hosts and TV shows and TV networks and magazines and websites and all of this stuff that are all dedicated to one specific faction, not only is it obvious that they're creating a divide and conquer system, it also it polarizes people that much more because people tend to fall into cliques. It's a herding mentality. It's herding instinct. It goes back to our, primal animal instincts. And as with everything, that's what they're cashing in on. So that's just an absolutely fascinating story there. And look, folks, that's what I've been telling people. We're the only reason that people even believe these divide and conquer tactics is because they're being programmed to believe it. I don't know, man. It's just, that's just proof that they're trying to get us to submit to fear at all corners. That's why they want us to believe things are so terrible and so bad. They want us to manifest that. Us being happy and us being, it's just that it's poison to them. Man, so much. Let's see what else we have here. I wanted to see what other, I had a few pretty big stories here tonight. I want to go through these to see what all I have. Man, there's a lot of it. Oh, this is rich right here. The Capitol architect wanted to reanimate George Washington's dead body. From io9.com. Now, what's interesting, as soon as I saw this, I just went, oh man, this is greatness, without even having to read the article. So the guy the architect who designed the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., obviously was an occultist. I mean, well, look at all the architects. We know for a fact all the architects that designed Washington, D.C. were Freemasons and occultists. That's why they were hired. And so now this is coming out that the guy that designed the Capitol wanted to, do some occult stuff and reanimate his body. So again, if you didn't already believe that, Washington, D.C. was built by occultists, well, here you go. George Washington may have been America's first president, but he was nearly America's first zombie in chief. If William Thornton, physician and designer of the U.S. Capitol, had his way, Washington's body would have been subjected to a scientific experiment designed to bring back deceased former presidents. In December 1799, 67-year-old George Washington took a ride through the wet winter rain, and shortly thereafter developed a fever and a sore throat when his condition became so bad that Washington could no longer swallow the concoctions of vinegar, molasses, and butter with which he was trying to treat himself. Washington called in his livestock and slave overseer, who drained 3/4 of a pint of blood from the ailing man. When the bleeding failed to have the desired effect, 3 physicians were called in, all of whom recommended emetics and, you guessed it, more blood to be drawn. Over the brief course of his treatment, Washington's stomach and bowels were repeatedly evacuated, and the puncture-happy dogs took nearly 2.5 liters of blood. Just 2 days later, after that fateful morning ride, Washington closed his eyes for the final time, telling his doctors, "I die hard, but I am not afraid to go." But Washington's body was not buried immediately after his death. The president may not have feared death, but he did fear being buried alive. Before he died, he commanded his secretary, Tobias Lear, to make sure that he would not be entombed Less than 3 days after he died. In accordance with Washington's wishes, his body was put on ice until it could be moved to the family's vault. This is where the story gets a little strange. The morning after Washington died, his step-granddaughter, Elizabeth Law, arrived with a family friend, William Thornton. History best remembers Thornton as the architect who created the original design for the Capitol building. But he was also a trained physician, having studied at the University of Edinburgh. Although he did not practice medicine for much of his life, Thornton always had a keen interest in the workings of the human body. And he suggested a novel method for resurrecting the fallen warrior. Thornton told Washington's wife, Martha, that he wanted to thaw Washington's body by the fire and have it rubbed vigorously with blankets. Then he planned to perform a tracheotomy so he could insert a bellows into Washington's throat and pump his lungs full of air, and finally to give Washington an infusion of lamb's blood. Friends and family declined Thornton's mad scientist offer, but not because they thought his solution impossible, but because they felt that the nation's first president should rest in peace. And this goes on to talk about some of his occult connections and different stuff like that. But yeah, crazy story there. I just thought that was interesting. Yeah, you know, you didn't already know they were all occultists. There you go. Oh man, Ron Paul's now been endorsed by Snoop Dogg. How about that? I guess Snoop thinks Ron's going to legalize weed, so he's all about it now. There's a nice little picture that came with that article about Snoop Dogg endorsing Ron Paul. I'll drop it in the chat room for you. It's too funny. An East Bay dad claims a game of tag on the playground resulted in his 6-year-old son being accused of sexual assault. A decision, he said, was an overreaction by school officials. The parent, who asked only to be identified as Oswin, said his son was accused of brushing his best friend's leg or groin while the two were playing on the playground at Lupine Hills Elementary in Hercules 2 months ago. Oswin said the child was kept in principal's office for 2 hours until he confessed. He was suspended with a sexual battery charge and placed on his permanent school record. So the 2 6-year-olds are playing, and he accidentally brushes the other one's leg or his groin accidentally while they're playing, which is going to happen when you're roughhousing 6-year-olds. And they're suspending this 6-year-old, big threat now. 6-year-olds are the big threat now. Big sexual predators on the playground, 6-year-olds. And putting it on his permanent record. I mean, this, folks, they call us all conspiracy theorists for saying that they're, I remember telling people when I was in school that they were turning schools into fucking prison camps. Oh, blah, 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 you're just paranoid. And then it wasn't even that bad when I was in school. At least I didn't have to walk around with a fucking uniform or a RFID tag tracking me everywhere like my sister had to. My God. So 6-year-old caught a case. Yeah, so don't let your kids play around on the playground, otherwise they might catch a sexual battery charge at age 6. Oh man, since we've been reading, talking a lot about the ancient Sumerian text and all that stuff, you guys will love this one. This one comes to us from the Daily Mail. The joke that was old when Moses was around. Tablet full of crude gags and riddles about beer is found dating back to Exodus. Crude jokes, beer, and a hearty disregard for politicians were part of life in ancient Mesopotamia 3,005 years ago. Right. But see, what they don't tell you is that the politicians at that time were the priest class. And even the people then had a hearty disregard for those people because they knew they were being lied to and that they were restricting information for the public even then. That's what the priesthood's always been about. They're the gatekeepers between the information of the gods and what they don't allow us to know is what gives them their power. And it's more about what they don't allow us to understand and less about what they don't allow us to know, because they let us know a lot, but they don't let us understand it because they give us no context. A newly translated tablet from the area of present-day Iraq runs through a series of riddles which show that even in 1500 BC, people liked to puzzle. Modern audiences, though, should not expect to have their side split or indeed to solve any of the riddles, which are rather tricky. The riddles are and solutions are below. Few riddles in the Akkadian language survive. It was commonly used by the ancient Babylonians and other civilizations around the area of present-day Iraq. The tablet dates to the time of the biblical Exodus and is thought to have been written near the Persian Gulf. It was written in cuneiform, or let me say it correctly, cuneiform script. I always say cuneiform. You got to say it like a Frenchy fag in order to say it right. Cuneiform. It's cuneiform, yes, not cuneiform, you miserable little non-English speaking twit. It's cuneiform, not cuneiform. The text has large parts missing. Yeah, of course. Yeah, the part that says, no, really, we're aliens. Yeah, that's missing. That also appears to have been carved by an inexperienced scribe. The text was translated by Michael Strick of the University of Leipzig and Nathan Wasserman of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. Right, yeah. Now let's go and get all those antiquities from Iraq. And where's the first place we take them? Israel, of course. Yeah, we'll decide in Israel what we tell you they say and what they don't say. How about that? There you go. That's just proper, isn't it? Fucking proper. Here's another one. Yeah. Oh, God. Really? I mean, it's, you know, how much more do you need to know about this? Forget global warming. It's cycle 25. I've been telling you guys about the ice age coming for a couple of years now. It all has to do with the cycle of Vulcan. Forget global warming. It's cycle 25 we need to worry about. And if NASA scientists are right, which they hardly ever are, I might add, the times will be freezing over again. Yes, the Thames, rather. Let me say it correctly now. The Thames in jolly old England, mate. Yes, the Thames will be freezing over again. I think I'm going to start reading everything from the Daily Mail in an English accent every night for our listeners in jolly old England. The supposed consensus on man-made global warming is facing an inconvenient challenge after the release of new temperature data showing the planet has not warmed for the past 15 years. Oh, wow. Overshot that a little bit, huh? Right. I mean, Spock was telling us about the Ice Age, you know? You ever seen those TV shows In Search Of from the 70s with Leonard Nimoy? And they were saying, by the year 2010, we are expected to have another ice age on Earth. I'm Spock. You can believe me. The figure suggests that we could be even heading in for a mini ice age to rival the 70-year temperature drop that saw frost fairs held on the Thames in the 17th century. Based on readings from more than 30,000 measuring stations, the data was issued last week without fanfare by the Met Office and the University of East Anglia Climatic Research. Well, you know, it confirms that the rising trend in world temperatures ended in 1997. So what? So they got their shit hacked, allegedly, got all their information leaked. So now these guys are in the business of telling us the truth. I don't buy that either. I mean, I don't believe in phony global warming. And yes, I do believe that from the data and from the research and from what the scientists say that we are heading into another ice age and have been for some time. But it just seems odd to me that all of a sudden, okay, you know, well, we're caught, so now we're going to tell the truth. It's kind of funny. I don't try. I mean, they got caught lying to us once. How we know they're not lying about this? Man, I mean, this is the kind of thing I got to tell you right here. If I saw one of these motherfuckers parked around my house, it'd be hard to not want to go get an RPG or something from, you know, Chinatown and take it to this thing. Because, I mean, this is just the most ridiculous, in-your-face police state horseshit I've ever seen. Police roll out video surveillance truck called the Peacemaker. Tanya Quankanine is convinced the police are watching her. She's not paranoid. It says as much on the red sign painted along the side of the hulking armored truck that's been parked in front of her 8-room Parisian motel for several days. Warning, you are under video surveillance, reads the bold message on the side of the truck. From the front bumper of the menacing vehicle, another sign taunts, what you gonna do when we come for you? God, they just can't get over that, can they? Never gonna get old for these cops to still harp on that old reggae song from the Fox show, huh? I mean, they love it. What you gonna do when we come for you? We're putting it on their truck. We're gonna put on there, we're watching you. Yep. Ain't nothing you can do about it, slave. This truck is a new weapon for the Fort Lauderdale Police Department. Oh, Fort Lauderdale, that's where it is. And the fight against drugs, neighborhood nuisances. And it looks like a Winnebago on steroids. Yeah, it looks like the fucking thing from Stripes, you know, with Bill Murray, where they steal that fucking armored down Winnebago thing. Well, you're talking about a movie ahead of its time. That's exactly what this thing is. Remember John Larroquette's in it? They stole my fucking truck. It's like freaking out. They call it the Peacemaker, and it may be a first until, I mean, my God. So it's just this big mobile surveillance van. We can watch you and warrantlessly track you and trace you and do anything we want to you at any times. Why did it just do that? And I didn't get to, and already crossed out of the article. Well, you can find it. Just type in the Peacemaker mobile surveillance grid, and or mobile surveillance truck, you'll find it. This is interesting. Want to escape the end of the world? Ticket for Noah's Ark 2012 sold on Taobao. In the movie 2012, December 21st is the end of the world. On the special day, mountains fall down, earths crack, landslides, and tsunamis are everywhere. In the movie, Chinese people made a Noah's Ark in Tibet, and only government officials and rich people in the world can afford the tickets. But in Taobao, Taobao.com, a Chinese online shopping web, you can buy a Noah's Ark ticket of 1 billion euros with only 3 RMB, less than $0.5. So that's like 5 cents. It became the most popular and creative New Year's gift. So this website is selling 1 billion euro Ark tickets. That's pretty neat. That's kind of funny. They're playing into the whole thing. That's kind of cool. I might send a couple of those to some of my friends. That'd be kind of funny, you know. Send your buddies or send your friends, your family, a 1 billion euro Noah's Ark ticket for when the world ends. That's pretty. I like that. It's a pretty good gift idea. I wish I'd have known about that at Christmas. I would have got everybody one of those. That's pretty great. You know, I mean, seriously, I like the idea of laughing and making fun of this doom and gloom bullshit they're trying to get us to believe. Are you awake in there? Pilots could soon be monitored with mind-reading helmets to ensure they are in full control. Pilots' brains will soon be remotely monitored to see if they're in control using brain scanners built into their helmets. Military commanders will be able to see if a pilot is not responding to a warning light and take over the plane if they're about to crash. The advanced sensors in the pilot's helmet could also give an indication if they have gone unconscious or allow base control to step in. So, mind-reading pilot helmets, yeah, we knew that was around the corner, didn't we? Oh, man. Davos, Switzerland. They've been having the big financial summit there. Davos Economic Forum. Listen to this. Davos wowed by a device that reads the code of life in hours. Oh, my goodness. Now, it's funny how... Why isn't this being rolled out to, you know, people who can make a difference with it? Why is this being rolled out at a World Economic Forum? Where, you know, most of the people that are involved in the World Economic Forum are eugenicists and, you know, transhumanists and people who want to keep all this stuff for themselves. A miracle machine that cracks the code of life within a few hours and could revolutionize healthcare was the talk of Davos, grabbing the imagination of a forum otherwise shrouded in gloom. Patients will no longer have to wait weeks to know if they have cancer, and their doctors will know immediately what kind of disease they have, allowing them to target therapies precisely and to avoid harmful delays and mistakes. Health officials confronted by superbug outbreaks will be able to identify the bug strain and begin planning treatment within hours rather than days or weeks, potentially saving thousands of lives. Soon, researchers in the developing world will take portable DNA sequencers into the field to identify new viruses and verify water quality. Folks, you see how dangerous this is? They can now walk up with a little handheld machine, take your DNA, and know everything about you. And yes, they'll do it under the guise of, oh, well, we can tailor what we need to do to fix your diseases earlier. Yeah, but they can also tailor what they need to kill you a lot quicker about and not tell you either. See how dangerous this is, folks? And see how obvious this is? That they're bringing this out, not at some, humanitarian function or, the Red Cross. Well, the Red Cross is owned by the fucking New World Order. What am I saying? That was a misnomer. Forget I said that. But you know what I mean? Why aren't they bringing this out in some, humanitarian capacity? No, instead it's being rolled out at the World Economic Forum where all the big bankers and all the people are, continuing to talk about how they're going to run this op and still be billionaires and trillionaires. That's just dangerous. And, as much as you want to like a lot of this new technology, it's just hard to in the hands of the people that we know that are running the show right now. That's all I can do for news tonight, man. I'm starting to sweat. My headache's starting to come back. So I'm going to take a breather, and we are going to come back after we take a break, and we'll get into reading some of the end of days for you tonight from Zachariah Sitchin. My website, theglobalreality.com. We're about $200 away from having our goal met for the month, the bills paid, and then we have the rest of the chipping banner to go there for the expenses to go out and shoot for the new Rockwall film. So please help us out if you can. After I pay all the bills, I'm going to have zero in the bank. So just keep that in mind this week. And please help us try and meet that goal by Thursday. If we can meet it the rest of the way, that'd be fantastic. We'd be on schedule with the new film. And I'm planning to still try to have that out by, like July. So if everything goes right, there might be new stuff that comes out. I don't know. We'll just have to see. But anyway, theglobalreality.com, and please help us meet our goal there this week. And we can't do this without the support of our listening audience, and that's what keeps us commercial free. That's what keeps us having to sell products, and I just never want to have to sell products. All right. We got to hit mute on Sam Broadcaster as it echoes. Thanks for being here with us tonight. Another late night Moonbat edition of the Global Reality for you right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. Thanks a lot, everybody, for being out there and listening tonight or morning, wherever it may be, wherever you are out there and across the world and across the World Wide Web. Thanks for being here with us. And we've got Kirk, who sent us a message here from down under. G'day, mate. I've been listening to your show for about a year now, and I bloody love it. I live in Australia, so I download your podcasts and your YouTube videos and put them on my iPod and listen and learn all day while I'm at work. Boilermaker, I would like to say that your show rocks. It was great to hear you read the whole Lost Book of Inky. Love the Klingon humor. Keep up the great work, mate. Hey, and thank you so much, man. Australia, wow. So many great listeners and supporters down in Australia. Man, I love you guys so much. That's just awesome. I mean, I'm really building up. I get so many messages and emails from people from Australia. It's insane. So maybe that tells me I need to go to Australia and do a speaking engagement or something at some point and come hang out with all you fuckers down there. I'd love that. I actually have a friend who lives in Australia, so I could visit him as well. He tried to get me to come there so many times. He's a guy I used to play in a band with. Just right, one of the best drummers I've ever. I mean, this guy plays circles around me. I mean, he's like Neil Peart, Stuart Copeland level. Really, he's that fucking good. But he lives in Australia. But yeah, man, that's awesome. Love to hear from everybody all over the world. Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, lots in England, lots in Canada. Lots, of course, in the United States where I'm from, but I mean, it's just amazing to me. Croatia, Poland, all over the world. That's just it's really awesome. So thanks so much, everybody. Continue to spread the word. We're going to get into the end of days for you here now. Chapter 7. We're starting tonight. Destiny had 50 names. The resort to nuclear weapons at the end of the 21st century BCE ushered, one could say, with a bang, the era of Marduk. It was, in almost all respects, truly a new age, even the way we understand the term nowadays. Its greatest paradox was that while it made man look to the heavens, it brought the gods of the heavens down to earth. The changes that the New Age has wrought affect us to this day. For Marduk, the New Age was a wrong righted, an ambition attained, prophecies fulfilled, the price paid, the desolation of Sumer, the flight of its gods, the decimation of its people was not his doing. If anything, those who suffered were punished for obstructing destiny. The unforeseen nuclear storm, the evil wind in its course that seemed selectively guided by an unseen hand, only confirmed what the heavens proclaimed. The age of Marduk, the age of the ram, has arrived. The change from the age of the bull to the age of the ram was especially celebrated and marked in Marduk's homeland, Egypt. Astronomical depictions of the heavens, such as the Dendera temple, showed the constellation of the ram as the focal point of the zodiacal cycle. Lists of zodiacal constellations began not with the bull as in Sumer, but with the ram. The most impressive manifestations were the rows of ram-headed sphinxes that flanked the processional way to the great temples in Karnak, whose construction by pharaohs of the newly established Middle Kingdom began right after Ra Marduk's ascent to supremacy. And if you want to see, I mean, really, the best representation of Marduk that to me that's ever been captured is in the movie Stargate. Not the TV show and SG-1 all that shit, but the just original one with Kirk Douglas. Because that's, and I mean, they show Ra Marduk as this, you know, he's an alien. And he inhabits the body of this, you know, kid, and he, you know, the alien takes on the body and he looks like a human, but he's an alien. And then when they kill him at the end, you can see his, you know, I don't want to ruin it for you if you hadn't seen the movie, but if you've never seen the movie, or maybe it's been a long time, by the way, you can get, I don't know how, for those of you out there who have Blu-ray players, and Blu-ray players are really cheap now. You can get them for like 40, 50 bucks. Around Christmas, they're like 30 at some places. And the Blu-rays are really cheap too. You can get Stargate on Blu-ray for $5. I got it at Target for $5 on Blu-ray, dude. Yeah, they got Running Man for $5 too on Blu-ray. You can't beat it. There's some good deals, and the quality is superb. But yeah, Stargate. I mean, that's. I mean, they show Ra as an extraterrestrial in that movie. I mean, that movie was made in like 1994 or 1995. So, if you watch that movie, or if you haven't watched it in a while, go watch it. All this stuff that we're reading here is, you're just going to go, oh my God, they're throwing it right in our faces. They were pharaohs who were born theophoric names honoring Amun and Amen. So both temples and kings were dedicated to Marduk Ra as Amun. Amen Ra. Yeah, he was the monotheistic sun god. That's, you know, he brought in monotheism. That's what the one God said. It was always multiple gods. That's where the Holy Trinity comes from. You know, the Father, Son, the Holy Ghost. Yeah, it's Isis, Osiris, and Horus. That's the original Trinity. That's where the whole thing comes from. The unseen for Marty. Yeah, let me just throw this in. Every time you're around the dinner table at Christmas or something, and you have to say amen, just make sure you say Amen Ra at the end. And if your relatives ask any questions about it, just say, hey, well, you know, I'm thanking the monotheistic sun god from the, you know, old dynasties of Egypt. That's where it comes from. The unseen for Marduk, absenting himself from Egypt, selected Babylon and Mesopotamia to be his eternal city. Both Marduk and Nabu survived the nuclear maelstrom unharmed, although Nabu was personally targeted by Nergal. He apparently hid on one of the Mediterranean islands and escaped harm. Oh, did he dump the anti-Kythera mechanism there while he was there too? That's interesting. It would be in the Mediterranean. That's where they found that at. You know, the clockwork meshing gear mechanism that accurately tracks the movements of the stars thousands of years before we had any kind of gears like that, found off the coast of Crete in the Mediterranean. Subsequent texts indicate that he was given his own cult center in Mesopotamia called Borsippa, a new city situated near his father's Babylon, but he continued to roam and be worshipped in his favorite lands of the West. His veneration both there and in Mesopotamia is attested to by sacred places named in his honor, such as Mount Nebo near the Jordan River, where Moses later died, and the theophoric royal names such as Nabu Pol Assar Nebuchadnezzar, and many others. Well, Nebuchadnezzar, yeah, that's where that comes from. By which famous kings of Babylon were called, and his name, as we have noted, became synonymous with prophet and prophecy throughout the ancient Near East. Marduk himself, it will be recalled, was asking until when from his command post in Haran when the fateful event took place. In his autobiographical text, the Marduk prophecy, he envisioned the coming of a messianic time when gods and men will recognize his supremacy, when peace shall replace war and abundance will banish suffering, when a king of his choice will make Babylon the foremost, with the Assagial temple, as its name meant, raising its head to heaven. A king in Babylon will arise, in my city Babylon in its midst, my temple to heaven he will raise. The mountain-like Assagial will renew the ground plan of heaven and earth. For the mountain-like Assagial he will draw. The gate of heaven will be opened, the Stargate. In my city, Babylon, a king will arise. In abundance he will reside. My head he will grasp. He will lead me in processions to my city and my temple, Assagial. For eternity I shall enter. The new Tower of Babel, however, was not intended, as the first one was, as a launch tower. His supremacy, Marduk recognized, was now stemming not only from the possession of a physical space connection, or a Stargate, but from the signs of heaven, from the zodiacal celestial time, from the position and movement of the celestial bodies, the Kakaboo, the stars and planets of heaven. Accordingly, he envisioned the future of Assagial as the reigning astronomical observatory, making redundant Ninurta's in Inu and the varied Stonehenges erected by Thoth. When the Assagial was eventually built, it was a ziggurat erected according to detailed and precise plans. Its height, the spacing of the 7 stages, and its orientation were such that its head pointed directly to the star Iku, the lead star of the constellation of the Ram circa 1960 BCE. The nuclear apocalypse and its unintended consequences brought to an abrupt end the debate regarding whose zodiacal age it was. Celestial time was now Marduk's time, but the god's planet Nibiru was still orbiting and clocking divine time, and Marduk's attention shifted to that. As his prophecy text made clear, he now envisioned astronomer priests scanning the skies from the ziggurat stages for the rightful planet of Assagial. Omen knowers put to service shall then ascend in its midst. Left and right on opposite sides they shall separately stand. The king will then approach the rightful Kakaboo of the Assagial over the land he will observe. A star religion was born. The god Marduk became a star. A star, we call it a planet. Nibiru became Marduk. So see, they were calling what they referred to as stars in the text were actually planets. I think that's where a lot of the confusion comes from people. I've had that question from people a lot. Nibiru became Marduk. Religion became astronomy. Astronomy became astrology. In conformity with the new star religion, the epic of creation, the Enuma Elish, was revised in its Babylonian version so as to grant Marduk a celestial dimension. He did not just come from Nibiru, he was Nibiru. Written in Babylonian, a dialectic of Akkadian, the Semitic mother language, it equated Marduk with Nibiru, the home planet of the Anunnaki, and gave the name Marduk to the great star planet that had come from the deep space to avenge both the celestial Ea and the one on Earth. So see, this is explaining that allegory. So people have asked me about that. Why did they refer to them as planets? You know, this is what they're telling you. It thus made Marduk the Lord in heaven as on earth. His destiny in the heavens, his orbit, was the greatest of all the celestial gods, the other planets. Paralleling that, he was destined to be the greatest of the Anunnaki gods on earth. The revised epic of creation was read publicly on the 4th night of the New Year festival. It credited Marduk with the defeat of the monster, Tiamat, in the celestial battle, the creation of Earth. That's right, because the planet Tiamat was destroyed. And supposedly that's where all the water on Earth came from. The Tiamat was a water planet. And in fact, when seen from Earth, it appeared as if, as in Star Wars, it looks like on Tatooine, there's 2 suns. Well, supposedly that's what it looked like before the destruction of Tiamat. You could look up, there appeared to be two suns from Earth, but actually it was a water planet, Tiamat, and when they destroyed it, all the water came rushing down. Some people believe that's where actually how the Great Flood happened. And all of the pieces that broke away from it, some slammed into Earth and created meteors, and others broke up and became the asteroid belt. That's what the waters above the firmament mean in the book of Genesis, folks. You know, read the book of Genesis. It says the waters above the firmament. That's what they're talking about. The waters rushing down to Earth and above the firmament in the asteroid belt. And all the feats that in the original Sumerian version were attributed to the planet Nibiru as part of a sophisticated scientific cosmology. The new version then credited Marduk even with the artful fashioning of man, with devising the calendar, and with the selection of Babylon to be the navel of Earth. So this guy, he just went ahead and just set himself up and took credit for everything, even though there were many other Anunnakis and stuff like that that were involved in it. Interesting. So this Marduk Ra character, I mean, you know, this is the guy where all monotheism comes from. I mean, it's just a classic example. These guys just took turns setting themselves up as gods. The New Year Festival, the most important religious event of the year, began on the first day of the month of Nisan, coinciding with the spring equinox. Calling it in Babylon the Akidi Festival, it evolved there into a 12-day-long celebration from the Sumerian 10-day Akidi on Earth Bring Life Festival. Sounds like fucking Burning Man or something. Sumerian Burning Man, but that was a hoot. It was conducted according to an elaborately defined ceremonies and pre-described rituals that reenacted in Sumer the tale of Nibiru and the coming of the Anunnaki to Earth, as well as in Babylon, the life story of Marduk. It included episodes from the Pyramid Wars, when he was sentenced to die in a sealed tomb, and his resurrection. I mean, this stuff's just great, man. I mean, that's all that George Lucas and all these clowns think, oh, just genius minds of sci-fi. Bullshit. These genius minds of sci-fi didn't do anything but go read old fucking Sumerian texts, and they figured nobody'd ever, you know, notice. And put that stuff in there. That's why why do you think it is that people view Star Wars as a religion? Because there's so much real stuff in it that's taken from religious texts and ancient teachings and Sumerian texts and all that. That's why Star Wars, and most people don't even know it because it operates on a subconscious level. That's why as kids we were all drawn to it. Because it's working on these levels with archetypes and myths and religions and teachings and stuff from the Sumerian. It's operating on these things, and we have such a genetic history, a genetic memory of these things that they resonate with us subconsciously when we see them. That's why sci-fi. That's why there's such things as that's why people who are into sci-fi. That's why they're nerds. Because it seems to be that the people that are, you know, a little bit inherently different from everybody else always gravitate towards that. That's why. So, yes, fellow sci-fi nerds, as I am, and I'm not as big a nerd as some are, but I am a nerd nonetheless. You know, now you're not. Now you don't have to feel like such a freak, dude. There's a reason why you like. The reason why you like this shit's not your fault. It's in our genetic memory. These fuckers are exploiting it, and we're giving them billions of dollars. George Lucas is a billionaire. And all he did was take a bunch of stuff that was in ancient texts and ancient teachings and, you know, create a mythology around it. The Pyramid Wars. I love that. Kind of sounds like the Clone Wars, doesn't it? When he was sentenced to die in a sealed tomb and his resurrection when he was brought out alive. That sounds familiar. You had never heard that story before, have you? And his resurrection, when he was brought out of it alive, his exile to become the unseen, and his final victorious return. Processions, comings and goings, appearances and disappearances, even passion plays, with actors visually and vividly presented Marduk to the people as a suffering god, suffering on earth, but finally victorious by gaining supremacy through a heavenly counterpart. They cooked up everything for modern religion and everything for the one God, all creator from Marduk. It's unbelievable. The New Testament's Jesus story was also so similar that scholars and theologians in Europe debated a century ago whether Marduk was the prototype Jesus. Yeah, there you go. So this guy just took the credit for doing everything, and we built a whole worldwide religious structure off this. Congratulations, we're idiots. But you know what? It's okay to admit that you've been had. It's okay to admit that you're an idiot, and it's okay to move on and say, you know what? I'm not going to let those guys get one over on me anymore. I'm not going to be fooled by that again. And dust yourself off, pick yourself up, and keep on moving on and trucking on for information and enlightenment and your own personal knowledge. We're going to get there. We're not going to stop, and I feel more and more good about it every day. But we need funding, and that's the fact of the matter, folks. The more money we get in here for this operation, the bigger and at a higher level we can do things. And so we've got a long way to go on our chipping banner, but, I know that everybody out there is going to continue to support our work and help us out and help us get this stuff done. We got to do it, man. Nobody else. If not us, who? And if not now, when? That's the question. And it sure as hell beats giving your money to these lying-ass politicians. My name is Josh Reeves. I love each and every one of you. We'll see you next time. You guys have a great one. Take care.